So we got the quorum.
Yes.
That's good. And oh, somebody just joined.
This is Ken.
Oh, great. All right, so John, roll call is complete. Welcome everybody to today's meeting, and I think we can go directly into Ken's presentation or update.
Okay, so we've been wrapping up cleanup from DXP. That's been the majority of our time has been spent doing that, and I see the end of the tunnel with regard to that, or the light at the end of the tunnel. There are still a few remaining issues. There were some enhancements and things like that that we rolled out for like the MDS tool that had to deal with granting more fine-grained permissions. It was actually an enhancement that was just rolled out. And we're running into, I'm trying to think, there were a couple things dealing with like the ordering within the My Communities. When you click on the little communities icon in the upper left, that for some unknown reason I haven't had a chance to get to it yet, but I will be. It's not alphabetical. It is for administrators, but not for everyone else. So we're looking into that. And then we've got a couple people where it's not showing any communities under My Communities, even though they do have them. So we'll be looking at that as well. There's also an issue within Garrett on the code review side that has to deal with mixed case of the username, where everything's supposed to be converted to lowercase, and so that's one of our top priorities at the moment that we're fixing. So those are a few of the things. We did close out a number of issues. I suspect that John might mention those today, where DXP addressed some long-standing issues. So anyway, that's a very quick summary. I don't know if there's any specific questions that you guys had with regard to DXP or things like that, but I can go into that.
No, I think, Ken, we can do that as part of the next section if there is any.
Okay.
So yeah, it sounds like some final things. Is there any next big thing on the agenda for the VLab support team, or more just getting back into regular ticket?
Well, because of DXP, we've pushed off some activities that we've been planning. Specifically, there were some plugins that had gotten higher ratings from the VIT and enhancements. So we'll be dedicating some effort in that area. There was some streamlining that we've been planning for quite some time with regard to it's more from a support end of things, from the virtual lab support team, but trying to automate some processes and things to make it so that it's a little bit less, some of the things that we have to do are quite repetitive, and so that'll allow us to scale better as we continue to have more and more requests. So that's a good thing, but it's just want to make that so it's easier to handle those requests. So yeah, when we met about a month ago back at Steve's team got together, we came up with a list of things that kind of a plan to move forward. And then there's also some activities on the AWIP side, as well as on the virtual lab side in terms of automating and streamlining the process in which we do our testing and deliveries and things like that. So those are things that kind of got pushed to the side, but we'll be working that, and then of course be working normal requests as they come through the process. So that's it for me. Thank you.
Sounds good. So John, yeah, the next item up on the agenda there is any feedback from the group team members on DXP migration. Anything jump out at anybody, or issues or concerns to raise?
This is Kate from EMC. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I may have missed it before the change, but after the migration, the forms that we had in the SB3 GFS community were undeployed, and I had to recreate them completely.
Were those were just normal web forms, is that right?
Yeah. Yep, just web forms.
Yeah. Yeah, I apologize. That was a case where we missed that use case. So I don't know. You shouldn't, in theory, you shouldn't have been required to recreate them, but that obviously addressed the need at that point in time. So.
Yeah, the forms were gone completely. I couldn't find them.
But you were able to actually drop a new web form on the page, portlet on the page, and then redefine it at that point.
Yeah, it was essentially just making it from scratch again. But I was able to recreate it back to the functionality we had before, so we're okay now.
Okay. Yeah, sorry we missed that, and we did try to touch base with main users, but I don't know, you might have been missed unintentionally because what we did is we went through this process in dev and had people go out and look at things to identify issues so that we could address them beforehand. But when I think about all the emails I sent, I don't think I sent one to you, Kate, so that was an error on my part. So
that's okay. I was really busy with stuff in EMC, so I may have missed other stuff to check. So that's fine. I just wanted to report that.
Okay. Yeah. Well, we're hoping not to have to go through a migration like that for a long time. So it shouldn't be shouldn't be a recurring issue. But we'll make sure and make sure that you're in the list, and that's something that we look for. So.
Okay. Great. Thank you.
Sure.
Just from my perspective, Ken, and I don't know if you've heard this, I think the overall layout is nicer and stuff like that. I must say, in terms of, and I think there's probably more functionality, but just like anything with more functionality, sometimes I think it's a little bit more confusing. And specifically, like I'm talking about editing a page or something like that. At least that's what I've found.
Yeah, I guess if you can let us know what part of it you're finding confusing, that would be helpful. I think in some cases, or in a fair number of cases, Liferay actually tried to streamline the process and make it so that not so many options were exposed. I think they had mixed success in that area, but so there's definitely an adjustment period. I've found, because obviously we've been working with it for quite some time, I've found that it tends to be much more intuitive to work with, but there is a learning curve there. So, one of the big changes, of course, was the editor, the WYSIWYG editor, and that's something that hopefully people are liking it after the initial phase of, because it has changed a fair amount, but because it's an inline editor, but it has it addressed some issues that some of our big users have complained about for a long time in terms of, when you're editing things, not going, like if you're in the WYSIWYG editor, like within web content or a wiki and things like that, before, if you were to go to do searches and things like that, it would always take you up to the wrong part of the page, and it was really confusing and easy to get lost. And things with the inline editor now, if you want to create a link or do anything like that, it's all right there. You just highlight the text, and so that's something that it does take a little getting used to, but from a usability perspective, it's much better. So
yeah,
if there's specific things, let us know. So
yeah, I one thing that I did remember, the user roles. I found that a little confusing. A couple times I went in there, let's say I had a new user or new request. It was not, it was a different procedure, and I wasn't even sure how to find that person to give them new permissions and stuff like that, or accept their role.
Yeah, I think the process is slightly different now. You have to actually click on the role, and then you can add people to the role. Whereas before, I know because it confused me initially as well. So, like, how do you do this? So.
Yeah, it seemed like another step that just in the new way, which is probably again part of overall streamlining. But
yeah, and if you do find things like that, and John has spent a lot of time, and there were a couple others on the team that went through the user guide and updated it for DXP. So if there are cases where our user guide isn't addressing something, make sure and let us know, and we'll make sure and update the user guide with that. So
sounds good. Anything else regarding DXP migration? Looks like David joined us.
I did. Sorry for my tardiness.
No worries. I'll let you take over. We're at the VLST ticket review. Going over to John.
Okay. So I think Brian had sort of asked for this particular agenda item, and I guess the idea behind it was to review existing VLST tickets and see if there are any that the VIT might want to get involved with, say, to rank and that sort of thing. So this is a little bit outside of the normal paradigm where somebody makes a suggestion, a VIT ticket is created, and then a person who basically who that individual's organization is would then take the newly submitted ticket, review it, and then recommend it for review by the entire VIT, which ultimately could result in endorsement. But this is outside of that process. It's going back to the beginning of where maybe we can come up with some ideas for tickets. So is that right, Brian? Is that kind of what you wanted to do at this point?
Yeah.
Okay. So I went ahead and looked through our listing of tickets, and I came up with, I think, 5 or so that I think might represent things that the VIT would be interested in reviewing and perhaps endorsing. So this first one, 49307, was submitted by Anna Rivera, and it deals with Redmine. Hold on a second. Let me get rid of that. Okay. So it deals with Redmine, and the idea here is that, let me see if I can bring up sort of a typical Redmine page that you might see. So you notice here we have sort of the grid of various tickets, and it has a number of columns, and then one of the things that you can do is you can sort of change which columns appear on the display. And so one of the things that's actually missing from this list of available columns is sort of the last comment that you would see in a ticket. So, down below here, oftentimes there are, comments that are made as the ticket is progressing through its life cycle. Things that, somebody has made an issue of or something of that nature. And so you can't really see that without going into the ticket. So what Anna is proposing is that Redmine be enhanced to allow another column over here, which would display the most recent sort of change in the ticket by way of comments. Are there any questions about this particular candidate?
Could you go back to the issue? Yeah.
Yeah. Questions?
Okay, so if there's a note, it doesn't update that.
It doesn't display it. So
Okay.
as you were to go through your list of tickets, you have no way of peering into the ticket to see what the last thing that happened was. So let me see if we can find a VIT ticket here. All right, so now is it going to work? Hold on. All right, so you notice down here we've got the history. So there was an update made on 11 days ago by me. It says, as part of the DXP update or upgrade, the announcement portlet has a scope of blah, blah, blah. So what Anna's proposing is that this most recent one would actually appear in the list that you see here. So that, you wouldn't have to go in there to see what was going on with it. Now, if you wanted the complete history, a more comprehensive look at what's been going on, then you would click on the ticket and go in. So if someone would be interested in championing this particular ticket, it is available. The number is 49307.
Can you assign it to me? I'll take it.
Okay. Yes. Let me do that. This is the VLST one.
Or so how do we do that?
So the way I would do it is to go in and create a copy. And then what we want to do is we want to change this from VLab to VLab Improvement Team. And then we make sure the status is new, which I think is appropriate for this. We can mess with this if we want and say it's a new functionality. And I believe that's the only several things we need to do. And then we click, let's see, now the assignee.
Change assignee.
There you go. Yeah, definitely. So Brian is at the top. There we go. All right.
And then don't you usually refer to what ticket it is in the VLST tickets as well? Or?
So the nice thing about the copy is that it relates the two tickets. So it automatically puts a link in the new and old ticket, showing that they're kind of related as copies. I think that's what you mean. And so we create that. And so now you can see that the original ticket was 49307, but the new one in the VIT project is 5160, and Brian is the assignee. So now he can review it, decide if he wants to push it forward for a sort of a team review at the thing as a candidate and to press ahead. Okay, great. One down, 4 more to go. So close these. The next one that might be of interest was submitted by Steve Levine, and so this is he's looking at a wiki, VLCS wiki, and we just happen to have one in our own community. So I'm going to kind of refresh everybody's memory as to what a wiki looks like. Oops, that's not the wiki. Hold on. Let me put that back over here. I think this is our wiki. And so you have a number of subpages to a wiki page. And for the normal mode of, not the normal, the way it is displayed within the VLab is that those subpages all lay at the bottom down here. And so to get to them, you simply just scroll down, and you can go to that page by clicking on it. But what Steve is suggesting is that we adopt a more Wikipedia-like approach. So you notice how Wikipedia has on the left-hand side some subpages, links, and so forth that you can go to. He's proposing that somehow we adopt this approach so that instead of those subpages being at the bottom, they're displayed on the left-hand side. And so he has asked that this VLS be set up within a community more along the lines of Wikipedia, where there's a side panel to show pages within the wiki. And so this one could potentially be a candidate as well. Are there any questions on what's going on within this particular request from Steve Levine? Would anyone want to take this on and potentially champion it before the VIT?
So John, one question I have about the having it displayed on the left-hand side. Was he thinking that then we would have all of the other stuff still to the right, so whatever the most recent was, it would still be there displayed on the main page, or?
Yes, I believe so. So you can think of it as the content of the current page would be displayed as it is here. So this is our current page. And then the stuff down here would be displayed to the left, so that you could sort of click on it. It would then display here in the center, the content area, so to speak. Then if you wanted to see another page, you would just click on the left, and again, it would display that new content in the content area.
To basically fill up the page more, and instead of making it longer, just utilize the space available.
Yeah, and I think it makes it a little more accessible because it's in the sort of what we'll call the field of view all the time. You can more quickly click on things on the left without having to necessarily scroll down to find that page that you're looking for.
Sure. I would be willing to look at this more closely and work on that.
Okay, let me go ahead and create a copy then. We'll quickly set this to the VLST or VIT. There we go. We want to change that to new. Danger not to do that. Signee will be David. Category, let's go ahead and also call this a new functionality. And I think that will do it. Okay, that is now in your list of tickets to look at, David.
All right, thank you.
So we're now down to number 3. And in this case, what we're trying to look for here, again, is some new functionality. If you could envision a document library, let me see if I can bring one up so we don't have to even envision it. All right. As soon as it shows. All right, so here's the document library, document and media portlet on the left. And those are folders there, but if we go down here to where we have a list of documents, I might want to go ahead and get 2 or 3 of these documents and download them to my computer, where I could say edit them or share them with friends and family or whatever. And so you can click on these documents and then come up here, and there are a number of things that you can do with those selected items. So I could unlock them, I could lock them, I can move them around, I could even delete them all at one fell swoop. But what you can't do currently is download them all in one fell swoop. So this particular issue is suggesting that we develop a way of doing that. So any questions about what this might be trying to accomplish? All right. Does anyone want to maybe take this on to look at it further and potentially nominated as a candidate for VIT consideration? Assuming you didn't have to actually take any action, do we, because I can certainly, if somebody doesn't want to take it, but we still want to see this as a candidate, I could certainly help out in that regard.
Yeah, I think it'd be good, John.
Okay.
To have it, and maybe again something we can see later is once we have maybe a grouping of tickets, it could be reassigned at some later point, just something like that. Maybe somebody's holding out or something like that for a better ticket.
Yeah.
Maybe there's no better ticket that comes along, and then they'll decide, okay, we can take this.
Okay, for sure. I'm just gonna push this back up. Wait a minute. Nope, I'm doing the right thing. Yes. Okay, fine. Normal, and we'll put the assignee as John, and we're gonna call this also new functionality. So we got a lot of new functionality being requested here. And I think that should do it. Okay, so I'll take a look at that and have something ready probably before our next meeting. Alrighty. So I think we have, according to my count, 1 or 2 more. Yeah, looks like we certainly have 1. So let's work this one. So here, this is we're moved into the DXP era, and one of the interesting aspects of our new DXP version of the VLab is that you're a community owner. You go to a community and it's got public and private pages, and you want to use the My Communities portlet to get there. And so when you click on it, it's going to always take you to the public pages. But many times as community owners, and maybe even as community members, we really want to go to all that good content that's been created in the private side. And so this ticket looks at refining the way we do this such that you have an option. And let me go ahead and just bring this up so we can see what we're talking about here. So this is, okay, so we go up to our favorite select communities, or the little compass. And when we want to go to a community, we go over here. And of course, in my case, we have all of them to choose from, so that's good. But you notice if you click on any of these links, it's going to take you to the public pages. And you may not want to go there. You may want to go to the private pages. So the idea here would be to somehow modify this so that you have the option of choosing either the public or the private where they both exist. Or if there's only private or only public, then there'd be no need to change, and you would just simply click on the community link, and it would take you to that set of pages. And so that would give you a little more flexibility, and what would require, or what it would save you from having to do is, let's see, if we go here. Nope, no, that's not good. So we'll go back. Sorry about that. So I would pick the one community that shouldn't. Okay, so let's go to our community. So that's always easy. Hold on just one second. All right, so we'll go for the improvement. All right. And so when we click on this, because we have both public and private pages, and so it's going to take us to the public side. You can see here it says public, so we know we're on the public pages. And so if I want to go over to the private pages, then I have to click the public word or link, and it'll take me over there. So it just saves you from having to do this sort of second step. All right, so any questions about this ticket? Okay. Do we want to, consider putting the VIT stamp of approval on this one?
I would think so. Is there any volunteers? Immediate volunteers?
Okay, I'd be happy to take it on. There's no problem there.
Yeah, just take it for now.
Let me quickly do this, and then we'll. All right, improvement team. Down here to new. Always got to change that to new. John Chattel. Oh, wait a minute. There we are. Category is a sort of, yeah, we'll call it new functionality. And create. All right, one left to go. Let me go ahead and close these so we don't worry about them anymore. All right, this is the last potential ticket that we might want to get involved with. So back in the day, pre 7.0, pre DXP, we had this thing called the subscription manager. And what this allowed you to do was to go in there and let's say you had a forum, you could subscribe everybody in your community using the subscription manager to your forum so that they would immediately get emails and so forth by virtue of using the forum functionality. Well, unfortunately, with DXP, that capability sort of went away, and so we're in a period where we don't really have access to a similar capability, but there is the potential that we could develop something in terms of like a custom portlet or something of that nature. So this ticket captures that idea, and it would attempt to recreate some sort of subscription manager. Is everyone familiar with the subscription? Or let's put it this way, is anyone sort of not familiar with the subscription manager? Okay, so we'll assume everybody understands what the subscription manager is. And is this the kind of ticket we want to get involved with, or do we want to just, because this is definitely new functionality for sure, and it would take some time to, I'm sure, implement something along these lines.
John, so you're saying the ability to impersonate a user, wasn't that something we talked about before? Something that we had to take it on, or at least I know I brought it up before.
Well, so the ability to impersonate a user is reserved for administrators only. But what we did do is we came up with an alternative approach. So what one would do is they would create a user, we'll call them a test user, fictitious test user, and then we would create an account for that fictitious test user, and then you could log in as that user and sort of see the community as a normal user would see it. And so that was what we'll call a workaround, or our solution to that requirement, was this test user concept. But you can't impersonate some other member of your community. So if you want everyone to say join a forum now, you're going to have to ask everyone to join the forum. And then they will go about doing that, hopefully. Keep your fingers crossed. So did that answer your question, Brian?
Yeah, can go ahead.
I was just going to reiterate, so the subscription manager is a tool which allows community owners to go in and see who is subscribed to. It was done by Liferay initially, and they did it for like the forums, and then Mike Giebler modified it, and it actually didn't get rolled out within 6.2 because it was really close to the DXP upgrade, to handle subscriptions to wikis as well as web content. So the issue is that the portlet that we got from Liferay, it was experimental and they're not supporting it. So the task here that's being proposed is to put in some similar functionality, and we have some ideas that I think would actually make it better than what we had before. But from a functionality perspective, it enables a community owner to see who's subscribed to particular forums. It would apply to the wikis, to the web content too. And then in addition to that, it also gives the community owners the ability to subscribe their community members to particular forums and things like that.
Yeah, John, I mean, I'll definitely take it.
Okay. Now let me create a copy.
Yeah.
All right. Alrighty. So that was the last issue that I had to bring forward as like candidates, and that would then bring
John?
it. Yes.
So can you take a quick look at the existing VIT tickets now and what exists?
The VIT ones, sure. Stand by.
Yeah.
That'll take me a second to bring up, but.
And John, this is Todd. I actually, for the first time myself last week, submitted 2 improvement requests that I couldn't find where they went. It didn't go through ranking yet. I know that.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But I wasn't able to find where my request entry actually was saved to look at the status.
Okay. So this is our community. I'm sorry. This is, our community. And we have VIT process here. The first item on the submenu is open VIT issues. So you can click on that, and the first thing you'll see are all the new ones. And this is typically where any newly created ticket would show up. So this would be the first place that you would want to check, Todd.
That's where I looked.
Yeah.
That's the first place I went.
Mm-hmm.
And didn't see it. Let me go look on my end. Might have been some user error. But I went to just the basic. I wanted to treat myself, even though I'm on this team, like a regular user and requesting something.
Right.
So I just did it through the normal web form on the main VLab page when you log in.
Okay.
The improvement request form.
That's interesting. Okay, we may have stumbled upon a DXP issue.
Okay, I did get an automated email that confirmed that it was submitted, but when I went to trace it to here, I didn't find the connection.
Right.
So that's where I lost it.
I'm going to take an action item for sure to look into that, our suggestion form, and make sure it's working.
Okay.
We have
there were 2 related to Redmine. One's a recurring task enhancement request, and the other is the checklist feature possibly being able to be shared across sub-projects.
Okay.
If it helps you find it, and I can of course resubmit them if you want as well.
Okay, I'll let you know what I find out.
Thank you.
Okay, so as Brian requested, here are the list of tickets that are open for the VIT. And you can see that we have a number of new ones which we just sort of created. The first, let's see, where are the ones for, well, we can do this. Okay, so the ones we created are all here on the top list, easy to find. And you notice their status is new, so the assignee will want to go in and begin moving it through its life cycle to include reviewing it, and then putting it at quality controlled, and then ultimately you can indicate it that it's a candidate, and we will then pick that up and talk about it during an upcoming meeting. So here we have some that are quality controlled, meaning that potentially someday they could become candidates. And let's see, do we have any candidates? I don't think so. So these are all endorsed. So did you have any questions about the display, Brian, or do you just want to get a quick peek at where we are?
I just wanted a quick peek and was thinking to make it an action for next time that everyone should go through the tickets that they own and nominate some, especially like the quality controlled ones or the new ones that we did today. And also sort of an action request if both for people on the call or people not on the call to take a look at this list and see if they want to champion any of them So it's not a lot of you or myself or David that are the champions.
Alrighty. Cool.
So that would be 2 actions for next time, so that we can get back to the ranking of the new tickets and stuff like that.
Okay. Got it. One other item, I think you had mentioned, Brian, and maybe this is a good time to bring it up. So we have, as everybody is aware, a couple issues that have been closed out by the VLST, and we're in the process of doing our due diligence to make sure that the work that was accomplished met the need. And so these 2 items are being reviewed, and one of them Brian had sort of a question about, or wanted us to at least sort of discuss it a bit more, and that was the announcement portlet. And so let me go ahead and quickly just show you what I had planned to show you. So this is the new announcement portlet, or well, it's the portlet that we've always had called announcements, but it's been sort of renovated as part of the DXP migration. And just quickly summarize what it used to do. You would see any announcements in any community for which you were a member. So it would follow you, these announcements would follow you from community to community, and some of them would not be relevant to the current community. And so some people viewed that as something that made them not want to use the portlet. But since DXP has been implemented, the behavior has changed somewhat and allows us now to restrict a particular announcement to just the current community. And so I've thrown an announcement portlet here on our front page, and I just wanted to show you sort of how that would happen. So this is one that we've already created, but we can create a new one. And what is important to note now is that you have this distribution scope with the nice little up-down arrow toggle here. And so you can now select the community that you want this to display in, and ideally it'll be the one that you're currently in. So in this case, we'll come over here to the VLab Improvement Team, and then you can add some text. Let's see, where is my text?
And just a point of clarification,
Yep.
The reason that John's seen all those communities is that he's a portal administrator. So normally you would only have access to the communities which you're actually an owner or administrator within.
Absolutely. And I think I just add the entry. Yes. And then I would go in and I would give it a title, a nice URL if I needed to do that, and then type my text. And so it would then appear only in this community. So I could, well, I think that's good enough. So Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to either see or hear about that?
No, I think that's pretty good. Was that what you were testing earlier today?
Yes. So for those,
so it does provide an email notification as well.
Right. For those who have set up their account to do that, you have the ability to indicate that you want to receive these kind of announcements or not. And Ken can correct me, but I think that it's probably not. You have to actually do it. Ken, do you recall if the default is they're off?
It used to be right. The default used to be. We'd have to check with a new account, but I suspect it's probably the same way that initially you get it through the interface, and that's what we call it the control bar or menu at the very top. Under the icon for your name, there's a little label, superscript to the upper right that gives a number, and so if you click on that, the default is that it's only when you go into the application. So if you ever wonder what that does, these are all the different notifications. So your announcements should go here as well. And then that's all controlled through your user account settings. So your account settings, and then there's a notification section. Yeah. There must be a CSS issue here or something. looks a little different than I would expect.
See, I don't see. Well, you may have to give us a bit of time to figure out where this is, because maybe it's not.
So is this? Yeah, I mean the bigger question is it?
Here it is. That's where it should be.
Yeah.
Oh. I hate when that happens.
John, is this stuff
done under here? But I'm not entirely sure.
John, is this stuff in the user guide about the announcement portal?
The announcement portal is not currently covered in there because we do not want to encourage people to use it because of its odd behavior. But perhaps we do need to make an entry now that it's functioning more properly.
Yeah, so just to confirm though, so now the default behavior when you added the portlet to your layout is that it will only display announcements from within that particular community. It still is an option that you can turn on to make it global, but that's not something that that use case is very rare. So.
All right. Okay. So that was the one last item that I had that I wanted to bring to everyone's attention. And that brings us to the open forum.
The only other thing I'd say on that, John, is just if we could make it an action to put it in the user guide.
Yes, I have already written that down.
Perfect.
Alrighty. Are there any items for the open forum?
I didn't have anything to relay at this time, John.
Okay. Then I guess that brings us down to the open action item review. And let me bring up our action items. So let's see. We had, I guess, David had agreed to send out an email to all Central Region SUs, letting them know that we had deployed the new version of VLab. Oh, I'm sorry. No. This was the NRAP assignment.
Right.
Were you able to make that happen, David, or is it still an open action?
Yes, I did. I sent that out about a week or so ago, and I did not have any feedback, but that doesn't mean that people didn't contact Stephen about that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. We do appreciate the extra visibility. All right, so I will close that item. Let's see. So I am still working with Steve Smith to work with Bill Ward to obtain a copy of some slides documenting his talk to us the other day or the other week, probably now the other month. And still working on that. We've got one here. Well, the next three are for Bill Ward. They all deal with strategic planning team, what's to be included in the charter slash basically report now, I guess it is. And so I guess Bill will get to those eventually. Tammy's not here today, so I'm sure we'll have no update on the final open action item. But next time she is, hopefully, we will hear from her on that. Any questions about the open action items? Okay. And I guess that brings us to the new action item review. I'm looking here and I see 4 check blocks. So the first one is I need to check our suggestion form workflow and verify that it's functioning. And then I guess get back to Todd on that. So I'll put a little note to Todd. and let him know how things are going. Next item, review. This will be a request for everybody on the team to review sort of open VIT tickets and nominate those that it makes sense to nominate for our next meeting. Then there's a separate item for everybody to review those same tickets, and if you find some that you would like to champion that currently aren't being championed by a VIT member per se, then be sure and let us know about that. Then the final item is to add a user's guide entry on the announcements portlet. Did I miss anything? Okay, I turn it back over to David.
All right, thanks, John, and thanks, Brian, for helping out with starting up the calls, and John for getting the itinerary put together for all of this, and as well as for everybody who was able to attend the call. I would just say look over the notes once they get sent out and review those for any items that we're supposed to be taking care of before next call. And that will be on the 22nd of May, so here in 2 weeks. Hopefully everybody has a good rest of their day, and we'll touch base back in a couple of weeks. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.